Hi everybody, welcome to another tutorial by Huwdale Photography. My name's Dale and today we're looking at Lightroom. I'm going to show you a few basics. We're going to bring in some photos, do a couple of basic edits, and then we're going to export them again. So, first of all, we're going to go up to File and we're going to import our photos. This will take us to the import dialog. Now, as you can see, it's already brought up my card reader and it's found all the photos therein on that. You can see the latest stuff I've done. Now, really quickly, everything that is really bright here is photos and documents and all sorts of things that are not already on my computer, and everything that is faded out is already on my computer. So this is a really great way that Lightroom can keep track of everything and show you what you have and have not done. So I'm just going to look for a little something that I can upload quickly, a really random little photo. Yeah, here we go, there's a few here. So what's happened here is it's found all the photos that aren't already on my computer and it's already checked them for me to say import these. Now I don't want to do that, so I'm actually going to uncheck them and I'm just going to click a couple that I think I might use. I think just a couple of shots from down the street will do here. So I just held Control and clicked on both of those photographs, and now I'm going to click in this checkbox to say yes, these are the ones I want. To the right hand side of the screen now, we're going to tell Lightroom where we want these pictures to go. So in the top of this, we're going to give them a subname. This is going to put them into a folder of that name. So let's just say Street Shots. There we are. We want them to organize into one folder. And I'm going to put them on my big hard drive. You can see that Lightroom has found all my hard drives on my computer. And it's actually gone straight to the last place I put photos to. So on my big folder, I actually have a place called Pictures. And then I have the different years. And then under 2015... and then because I've clicked on 2015 here, it will create a folder, a subfolder called Street Shots, and pop these into there. So I'm just going to create, I'm just going to import those now. There we are, copy and import. So here's our two shots that I just imported. In this section, the library section, I can do some really basic edits. I can push the exposure up a little bit, or I can bring it back down a little bit. By control clicking two pictures at the same time, I can actually do the same edit to both of them. I can do this to all pictures in a file. This is where Lightroom really comes into its own, because unlike Photoshop, you can really use Lightroom to edit huge batches of photos all in one go, which is great when you've been shooting in a really dark area. You know every photograph is going to need to be brought up a couple of stops. You can just do that straight away, get it out the way on all of them. Next, we're going to go move to the Develop section. Now, this is where you're going to spend most of your time. I'm not going to spend too much time in here right now because I'm going to go into more detail in this. We'll need to click on one of our photos, which are now at the bottom here in our film strip. And we have all these different sections. So right now, I'm just going to focus on a couple of them. The basic section, really good. We do our basic exposure adjustment, add a bit of contrast. I'll brighten this up a bit here. There we are. We can bring down our highlights, we can bring up our shadows, or you can bring them up or down, whichever you prefer. I tend to bring highlights down and shadows up because it adds dynamic range. And then I'll bring the blacks down to bring in a bit of contrast again. I'm not sure I like the colours of this particular picture, so you know what? No, I don't think the temperature's really doing much to it. I'll just pop that back to where it was. It's maybe a bit warm, but that's okay. So we can also add a bit of clarity, we can add vibrance if we wanted more of the colours to come out. I don't tend to use vibrance much, but what I do use is saturation. I'll tend to add a bit of that to a raw photograph. Although actually, in this situation, I don't think it really needs it. But a lot of raw photographs do tend to come out a bit bland, so I will tend to add a bit of saturation to them. Above the basic section, we have things like the crop, where you can crop and turn an angle of photo. We have spot removal, where we can just remove blemishes, little spots, birds out of the sky. Red eye removal tool here, you just pop that onto an eye which has been caught by the flash. It will get rid of the red pupil. Our graduated filter, which is very useful for landscape work. Our radial filter, which I'll do in a later episode, which can be great for some local dodging and burning, but we'll talk about that later. And our brush filter, which does very much the same thing. So below the basic, we have these different modules, and they can be switched on and off. So if I go into the tone curve right now, and I just made maybe a bit of an S curve, you can see, okay, that doesn't look very good. But the great thing is that I can just turn that on and off and see the difference it makes. And if I was to leave that off now, that would be off in the final version too, or I can turn it back on. I think I'll just make that look a little bit nicer. Yeah, it's still, to be honest, it's not the best photo in the world, but for the purposes right now. There's a few other modules here that go a bit more in depth. I'm going to skip down to detail. This is where we can sharpen an image and add masking. What you can see right now is what happens when you hold down the Alt key or Option key if you're on Mac, And basically it's masking all the areas that shouldn't need any real sharpening to them. It's just sticking to edges. Like the sky, you can see at the top has gone black, and that means that there'll be no sharpening there, and it's found all the edges of the trees. It's really good for sort of really localizing your sharpening effect. So what else do we have? We have the noise reduction tool, so any noise in the picture, it will try to reduce that down. There's actually quite a lot in this picture because it's been taken at ISO 800. If I pull that up, you can see it starts to get rid of it. Little problem with the noise reduction tool, you don't want to use it too much because it can start to make images look a little bit plasticky, like they've had some kind of painterly effect added in Photoshop. It's not great, but it does happen sometimes. Finally, we have effects where we can add a bit of vignetting. I'll zoom out so you can see what's happened there. And then below that we have camera calibration, where we can sort out things like chromatic aberration. Again, stuff we'll talk about in later episodes. Once you've edited your photograph, you can go up to File, you can go to Export, and in this dialog box we can decide how it's going to export our photo. So in this top section it's going to tell us where it's exporting to. You can see currently mine's set to my F drive of pictures and then 2015 final sets, and then you can see it's got a checkbox to put in a subfolder. It will create a new folder inside 2015 final sets called flowers. Nope, I want it to be street shot. That must be from a previous shoot. You can also then change the file names. I'll leave that as final. You can change the quality of the image. I tend to keep mine around 76 for uploading to the internet, but if I was going to print, I'd put it right up to 100. You can resize the images. Again, for internet, I tend to resize them to 2048, particularly because this is the best size for Facebook, and this will get your images looking as sharp as possible on Facebook. Long edge, 2048. Sharpen for glossy paper, that just depends on what you do and don't like. You can add your watermark, again something else I'll show in a different video. And then we just click export. And what it will do now is it will just export our photo to the chosen location. There we are, it's just finished doing that. So if I minimize this now, and I go to my File Explorer, I will go down to my F drive, and then I will go to Pictures, and here we find my 2015 final sets, and if I just go to Street Shots, there is our final image with all our edits, and you can see it's added my watermark as well. So that's everything for Lightroom for today. That's the really basic kind of stuff. We've looked at bringing photos in, we've looked at exporting photos and doing some really basic edits. In the next tutorials I'm going to look more at the development section, where you can do a few more tips and tricks, look at the colours of photographs. I'll probably choose a bit of a better photograph for that one. And we'll look at some other features of Lightroom as well. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.